I was in Nigeria 4 years ago, and in 4 years, many things have changed. That has been the topic of our discussions with President Buhari and his team. If you look back 4 years ago, since that, a massive democratic change has occurred in this country, peacefully. Nigeria has become the largest economy in Africa, certainly the most populated and a very attractive market. But things have changed in a more complicated way, in the sense that the source of revenue for the government of Nigeria, which was predominantly oil, has seen its price divided by more than half. And the financing costs around are beginning to rise, if only because the economic situation in the United States is improved and interest rates will begin to rise. Added to which, emerging market economies are decelerating their growth and are no longer going to contribute the massive growth that they had contributed over time. So the demand addressed to commodity providers, be it of oil or otherwise, is probably going to be slightly reduced. So it's in that context of a great Nigeria, which is a leader in Africa, that we had this excellent discussion this morning with President Buhari. And we discussed the challenges ahead, stemming from the oil price reduction, the necessity to apply fiscal discipline, and the need to also respond to the population needs by addressing the medium-term necessity of improving competitiveness of Nigeria, and yet also focusing on the short-term fiscal situation, which requires that revenue sources be identified in order to compensate the shortfall resulting by the oil price decline. Now, oil in and of itself is not the major contributor to Nigeria's GDP. It's only about 14%. But it's a big source of revenue for the government. To those of you who wonder why the IMF managing director is visiting Nigeria, well, it's precisely to have a good discussion about these new objectives, these reforms, agendas that have been identified and supported by the President, and also to appreciate the impact that it will have on neighboring countries. Because when you have a very large economy like Nigeria, anything that it decides, any hardship that it faces, will actually have consequences around it. A team of economists is going to come next week, actually, to do what we call the Article 4, which is a review and an audit and a good discussion between partners, the IMF on the one hand, the country authorities on the other hand, to really assess whether the financing is in place, whether the debt is sustainable, whether the borrowing costs are sensible, and what strategy must be put in place in order to address challenges going forward.